Hey folks, welcome back to Prepping with Sarge. Today we're going to talk all about the care of your lemon trees, how to harvest them, how to prune them, how to fertilize them, everything you're going to need to know. Stay with me now. Alright, so see these two monstrosities behind me? These are actually dwarf lemon trees that are desperately in need of a pruning. So we're going to work on these a little bit today, and we're going to show you a couple things. Okay, a couple things you're going to need today. You're going to need a good pair of gloves because these dwarf lemon trees actually can get quite thorny. I've pricked myself more than a few times messing with these guys. You also want to get a good pair of gardening shears and a good pair of scissors. Okay, so I am about 5 feet 11. So this will give you an idea of how big this lemon tree is. And when I planted this thing about 4 years ago, it was probably only about maybe a foot high. So this is about 4 years old, and it's now grown up to, just kind of give you an idea. This is on the ground. That's about, the very top of it is about 5 foot 11. Okay, so how far south can you grow these outside? Well, I'm in South Carolina. I'm actually fairly close to Georgia, probably about an hour away. And I can tell you that we had a winter here a couple years ago that almost killed both of these trees. That was an unusual winter. Usually this should survive through the cold frosts, a couple cold frosts here in the south. If you're further north than, say, Charleston, you may want to think about trying to do this inside. I know a lot of people have had success growing these in containers inside. When does it bloom? Well, in my experience, ours blooms usually in December, and if we're going to get any lemons, it's going to be around that time as well, maybe late December, early January. Being 4 years old, we haven't gotten a ton off of this yet. We're hoping that this is the first year that we start to see some decent results. So the year that it actually took a lot of damage, it pretty much went down to the ground because it was completely burned from the frosts. And we ended up, I was so upset. I actually had filmed a video. I don't think it's out there anymore. I think I had deleted the video because it was a while ago. But we had actually considered like completely digging it up because I thought it was dead. And some friends said, no, leave it alone. The roots are probably still alive. Just let it go and see what happens. And sure enough, it did come back. So keep that in mind if you're in the South and you're trying to grow these outside. May take some damage. Might look like it's dead, but it tends to come back if it's established. So at this point now, right, so where this thing is like, almost 6 feet high, it's a little bit hard to manage in the wintertime because I do recommend if you get a hard frost coming that you cover it with an item called a planket. And if I can find those on Amazon, I will put a link to that in the description. But I show you what it looks like, and you can find it at like Home Depot and Lowe's. I show you what it looks like in the video called Of Frosts and Fruit. Okay, so I will also link that in the description and try to put an end card up for those of you who are watching this on a PC. Or on a tablet, you might be able to see the end cards. Now that's an older video, so the quality's not as good as this is, but it's just kind of give you an idea of how to care for these in the wintertime. And maybe this winter I will try to get some footage if we get a frost to kind of reshoot that. So wintertime, when you know a frost is coming, you're going to want to cover it with those blankets, right? Especially if you know that it's going to be a hard frost, okay? Light frost, if it's just going to touch the frost temperature, you might be okay. But if it's going to be a hard frost for more than a few hours, you're going to want to cover it with those blankets or something similar. How much fertilizer do I give these? Well, I really only fertilize these like twice a year, and what I do is I take that granulated organic fertilizer that I've talked about in some of my other plant videos, and I just kind of grab a handful of that and throw it at the base of this, and it's like a slow release. I'll put a link to that in the description as well from Amazon if you're interested in the fertilizer that I usually use. When you're planting these, what I do recommend is that you dig the hole about twice the width of the pot that you bought, okay? And then dig it at least deep enough that it goes down to the level of soil that's at the top of the plant. So if you bought a 1 foot container, you're gonna have to dig down a foot, okay? Maybe a little bit less. You can have it, a little bit over the top, and then instead of surrounding it with the soil that you put in, that you dug out of the ground, I'm sorry, I do a mix of that plus some really good gardening soil, just so you're giving it a little boost of nutrients, okay? Then I put a little bit of mulch around it, and then once or twice a year, I like to use the cypress mulch. I've talked about that in some of my other videos as well. Once or twice a year, I'll just kind of top off that cypress mulch. Just helps with the moisture retention and also keeps the bugs down a little bit. Cypress mulch is really good stuff. You need to check that out. All right, now let's get to the meat and potatoes of what we're doing here today. Today we're gonna do a little bit of pruning. I'm gonna show you exactly how to do this. Remember, I do recommend you wear some gloves. You probably want to sharpen up your pruning shears at least a couple times a year, just to make sure you get a nice clean cut. Also, I recommend washing your pruning shears and your scissors before you do this. Just helps to reduce the chance that the plant will get like an infection. It's almost like if you got a cut on your skin and you didn't wash it, keep it clean, you're likely to get an infection. Okay, and before I start pruning these, I want to bring these down basically I want to round them, and I want these two plants to be about the same size. So I'm going to bring them down to a height where it's a little bit easier for me to work with the plankets. So, and you want to kind of take it, this is the hard part to explain through a video. If I had you in front of me, it's a lot easier to explain, but I'm going to step back here a little bit. I want you to look at that plant, right? And let me step in now, and I want to show you, watch where my hand goes. See, like right here, right? Watch that leaf right there, and watch as I back out. Okay, see how the plant is a lot fuller at that level? We're gonna prune it down to that level. Now, generally speaking, I would tell you if it's a new plant, don't plant more than a third at a time. It's a little harsh on it. These plants are now 4 years old. I'm pretty sure they can take it, but what I'm trying to do by pruning at that level, and I'll show you on this one here too, stay with me now. Okay, watch where my hand goes. Okay, see this here? Right, but watch that leaf. Okay. Take a look at the plant at that level, right? The plant is very, very well developed and rounded at that level. Anything above that is just kind of scraggly. It's an outlier. That's what we're going to prune off, okay? All right, so let's go back to this first one here. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So see this branch, how that's a straggler? It's like way out there. We're going to cut that off. It's hard to work around it when you're working in the yard, like if I'm mowing the lawn over here. But even more importantly, when you're doing, oh, a little butterfly visiting there. Even more importantly, when you're doing the plankets in the wintertime, it's gonna be really hard to work with that to protect it from the frost. So we're just gonna create like a rounded effect. You want the plants to be rounded. Okay, let me get in close here. Watch where my finger goes here. Look at that. The plant is loaded with that, okay? That's what I was talking about. This is why you're gonna wear gloves. And let me put my gloves on right now while I show you how to do this. Okay, now I got my pruning shears. I'm gonna see if I can show you. Again, I'm trying to create that rounded effect. So I wanna get this closer to where the plant starts to look like it's very, very full and well developed, which is gonna be about right here. And to make my cut, this is the part that I wanna show you. Let's see if I can get this really good on camera. And move my camera just a little bit here. Let me get this leaf out of the way so I can show you. There we go. So see this here? See where the branch is coming out? That's where I'm gonna make my cut, right above that. And you wanna make it at a diagonal. Okay, so see how I'm kind of working with the angle of that branch? See how I'm kind of working with the angle of that branch? We're gonna make it diagonal to match that angle, okay? And I'm just gonna try to get it in one clean cut if I can. Oh, that's a thick branch. Wow. Okay, that's what you didn't want to happen. I'm gonna show you the damage here. That's gonna be harder. Let's see if I can clean up this resolution. See this here? See how it's like a ragged cut? That's what you didn't want to happen. That's gonna be harder for that plant to heal. It's still gonna be okay, but you don't wanna do too much of that. Let's try a different one. I wanna show you a really good clean cut. All right, so same thing here. See this little branch here? This is where, if I pan up, that's where the plant is really rounded. That's where you're gonna wanna make your cut to make it match that shape. And let me get this leaf a little bit out of the way. All right, so what I'm gonna do, I'm using the scissors this time just to see if I can get a better cut with this. Going with the angle of that branch, right? And I'm gonna try to do this in one clean cut. There we go. That was a much better example. That's how you wanna prune this plant. So now I'm gonna go around with both of these plants and then I'll show you the finished product. See that debris waste there? You can just drop that right into your compost if you want. All right, so you see over my shoulder there, I brought it down to about waist height for both of the plants there. And I don't know if you caught in the video there, I actually did find a couple lemons where I accidentally cut it off and it dropped like that, boop. I'm like, uh-oh. And yeah, I don't know. We're gonna put those in a window. We'll see if they turn into lemons or not, or if I might have just made a mistake and unfortunately cut them and now they're gonna just go to waste. But stuff happens in the garden, right? We make mistakes. A couple of last little things. First year of planting, make sure you're watering frequently. Second year, you don't necessarily have to. If you make a mistake on your cut, like you saw me do a couple times, and it's kind of ragged, you can actually just go a little bit further back on the branch and try to get a clean cut. That's about it for today. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments section below. If you haven't already done so, please drop a like. Keep planting your seeds, keep stacking your silver. This is Prepping with Sarge.